Hello and welcome to Afterlife Topics. If you like this type of content, please consider subscribing to the channel or becoming a patron at patreon.com/Afterlife Topics. Hello everybody, welcome to Afterlife Topics and Metaphysics. This is your host, Cyrus. We are the #1 channel recommended by dead people, according to a few unusual sources that I've had. It's a very flattering thing if it's true. It's definitely good if dead people think that this channel is the one accurate source of information. I don't know for sure, but we're going to keep talking about what happens when you kick the bucket, among other topics in metaphysics and things like that. And so, as I said, this is Cyrus Kirkpatrick, your host, and today we are talking about the concept of how many people fear that the other side, or other dimensions of reality, looks like and feels like being asleep, how it may feel like being stuck in a dream. So this is a common source of anxiety. We had a member of the group bringing this to my attention recently, and I figure I will share what I know about this on a video so other people can hear my perspective about, again, this common source of anxiety and what we can learn from out-of-body experiences, near-death experiences, psychic experiences, after-death communication experiences, and a host of other subjects, how we can dissect those, toss in some of my own experiences as well, and get a clearer picture about some of these complicated subjects that have left most mainstream scientists long behind in the dust. Before we get started, though, as usual, if you go down and hit that subscribe button, will definitely help keep the channel going. You can find me in the contact info, the bottom part of the screen, or in the show more section of the video if you want to get in touch with me. I also offer coaching services for patrons who want to support the channel and this work, so all that's down below. Okay, so to continue. So what are we talking about with this concept of dreaming, of the idea that when we cross over, when we die, that's going to be like this stuck in a dream, is how some people put it. And so what does being stuck in a dream mean? Well, those of us who dream have non-lucid dreams, I should say. It's a lot of information and stuff happening and things that you have no idea what's going on. It's inconsistent. Nothing really stays tangible from one moment to the next. It's a very strange and what we could define as a non-physical existence. And most people, we may enjoy dreaming or looking back on, what an interesting night I had last night. We don't much like the concept of dreaming endlessly. Well, there's a few reasons why people think about this or think about this in association with an afterlife. And so let's go over those, okay? So the first reason has to do with cultural perceptions about death in relation to sleep. So when you die, you will sleep forever. The common interpretation by people who don't put much thought or research into the subject, they think it's a, quote, eternal sleep. People who don't really know what eternity really means, they don't know how that would even be possible. And it may even have associations with Catholicism, the idea that you sleep until the resurrection. Not sure, but this is something that's in culture. It's the idea that if you're, whatever we experience or think of as unconsciousness, that is the fate of death. And that's our very limited, I guess you could call it three-dimensional, 3D understanding of these matters by this very primitive species on a very primitive planet called Earth. But again, so that's kind of the origin point. But secondly, our connection, when we do have experiences with the other side, with an afterlife, it's oftentimes through the narrow doorway known as dreaming. And so dreaming, especially non-lucid dreaming, to me, it's like a jumble of information coming in. It's kind of like literally going into the cloud database, and there's all kinds of info coming in. I think info from the collective subconscious of the world, info from parallel lives that you're having, info from the astral spectrum, which is specifically what we refer to as an afterlife. So this world, one frequency higher, which is the origin point of most what we think of as non-physical phenomena, whether it's ghosts or ETs or things that go bump in the night. It's generally coming from one frequency above this world, or maybe two frequencies, however you want to look at it. And that is quote the other side. And if we have an experience on the other side, we can't remember the experience because we have different brain functions between these realities. And so the physical brain stores memories, and it stores memories in this plane of existence. So if you have an experience on the other plane of existence, it's really difficult to get those memories back. And that's why people can have entire parallel lives on the other side and they don't have any recognition of it. So when you want to have an experience on the other side, there has to be a strong enough energetic component where that memory is brought back into your consciousness. Dreaming is the gateway that allows that to happen. So astral projection is a full conscious experience on the other side, and it's kind of like you're there looking at that world almost through the eyes of your physical brain. So it's like you've just it's like you've connected your brain here to your brain on that side, or you've gone through the doorway of sleeping and dreaming, and you've come out on the other side to have a lucid experience, as opposed to fully being there and operating independently of, again, this kind of dimensional gatekeeper called the physical brain. So what this thing is doing is it's grounding you in a particular plane of existence, in a particular reality. So it's this frequency modulator type of device that keeps your whole body functioning and operating from your consciousness and keeping your consciousness tethered to one location, right? So projection means that in a way you have bypassed something and you're able to get access to that side, kind of synchronizing, linking up your brain here with something there. In a nutshell. And so look, this is all not fully understood by any means. So those who do astral projection very well, we can really limit the brain's effect on that side. So you can have a full lucid conscious experience and be able to bring those memories back. But for a lot of us, you're having an experience and it's overlaid with dreams, hallucinations, data, and random jumbled stuff that's coming in from all over the place, and it just coming in haphazardly into your brain. The cloud information is like all this random stuff on the hard drive. So you don't have a focused, clear experience. The problem is that when people do have limited experiences on the other side, they might be doing it from a perspective of non-lucid dreaming. So they begin affiliating the other side with dreaming, so that they believe that the afterlife is a dream, that it's like being asleep, that it's like what we experience when we're dreaming. That there's a similarity between these things. Unfortunately, even people in the New Age communities, the afterlife research communities, they fall into this way of thinking. They cause paranoia by saying things like this. Or the worst culprits are the people who say the afterlife is like a dream, and then you have to reincarnate to come back to this world. So this comes from a third reason why people think like this. It comes from a mythology, again, probably steeped in religion, that the afterlife is an inferior world and that this world is the place to be. So that the afterlife is a downgrade and it is an upgrade to come to this piece of crap 3D planet. That hungry ghosts are trying to get into bodies here, so when we go there, we have all these disadvantages until we can get a body and come back to this world. So we see this especially in Eastern religious philosophies. And keep in mind, Buddhism, Hinduism, these are fundamentalist religious beliefs. Even though there's a lot of truth to Hinduism, a lot of truth to Buddhism, It's also has its fundamentalist ideas similar to Christianity, similar to you will go to hell if you do something naughty, or whatever it might be. So these are fundamentalist belief systems. So especially people coming out of strong, let's say, Buddhist backgrounds, it's this idea you got hungry ghosts, you have reincarnation cycles, and you have forced reincarnation, and you have also a conception that the afterlife might be not a very nice place until you come back here. It's actually even similar with Japanese Shintoism. Like you have the world of the world of ghosts, the world of phantasms and entities and spirits, and then then you have the physical world that they're all jealous of. Of course, actually, all of this is wrong. There has never been anyone who's gone to that side that I'm aware of, even from NDEs or lucid OBEs or whatever the case may be, and said, "Wow, it's so much better back on the Earth." That'd be a very strange incident if someone got that impression, because it's always the opposite. So it's always like whatever you have here is extremely heightened. You're not held back by your prior physical limitations, and it's usually like a very enhanced version of this world where you have access to all of these mental abilities you could never imagine, and teleportation and flying, and you still have a physical body, but it's very, very much enhanced. So it really disproves this idea of there was this swampy netherworld full of ghosts and goblins, but that is a belief that some people have, and they get reinforced by the idea again that the afterlife is some kind of dreamlike place, because that reinforces that belief. And again, it comes back down to reincarnation belief systems. Well, how do you get away from that system? How do you get away from that slimy, creepy, dark netherworld? Well, you have to reincarnate, and you have to keep coming back here whether you like it or not. Of course, in the philosophies of reincarnation, we can see the other side is a continuation of your incarnation. You don't have to go there and then immediately come back here. There's no such thing as life between lives. The other side is the other side. You can exist on that side or exist on this side. It's up to you, depending on where you want to exist, where you want to work at, what place you feel like you want to inhabit your consciousness from its primary vantage point. So this whole idea, to me, has always been rubbish, that you go to the other side temporarily until you reincarnate. What happens is that there's people with these strong belief systems, and they won't let go of them. And so they're interpreting afterlife data through that, and then going out and telling people, yeah, the afterlife is a very temporary place until you come back here. It's always come back here, come back here, come back here, come back here. But what actually deceased people say is that, a lot of people on the other side, especially if you speak to them and if you gain communication with them, they don't even understand reincarnation. They'll say that they don't even know anyone who has reincarnated. We go back to the reincarnation subject of being in two places at once, not even being facilitated by a higher self, not even being aware of it. So we know it's very different from what people push. But this is, again, one of those misconceptions. It's one of those things that causes people anxiety, because they're like, oh no, the afterlife is dreamlike, or it's a spirit world, or it's ghosty, and it's this scary place until I have to come back here. But of course, the scary, horrible, nasty place is this world, okay? It's not that world. That's where you go when you've served your sentence here, more or less. So again, I always disagree. I always cringe, when I hear like life between lives, as if that's just a between point and that this is the primary life. So again, this is an issue concerning, I guess you could call it Earth-centeredness, the belief that this world is the primary and that the afterlife is a secondary or lesser existence. Again, from all the credible sources that we look at, we can see that the opposite is true. So that's the other thing that causes anxiety about this. It's like, well, maybe the afterlife is not that great. Maybe it's dreamlike and all this kind of stuff. So what it comes down to is that your consciousness expands in other realms of existence. It doesn't contract. Unless maybe you're like a really nasty bad person, or you're going through this world asleep. Some people in this world are barely conscious. They're just going through going through the motions. They don't seem to have a autonomous thought of their own. And often our mental state we take with us is someone like that may still be asleep when they're on that side. They may be just the same as when they were here. Generally speaking, when you die, you're exactly the same the minute after your brain shuts down as you were, well, back when you were fully conscious. I mean, obviously, if you were like unconscious or in a coma or suffering from like Alzheimer's, then all that is erased, but you will be back to your normal state of consciousness of however it is, minus whatever the brain can do to you. So your normal like energy-based state of consciousness is where you're at. So someone who is asleep in this world might be asleep on that world, but that doesn't mean that the afterlife is, or the astral plane, I should say, or the fourth dimension. It doesn't mean that it is a place full of people sleeping or that it's dreamlike at all. So the final thing I'll say is, like, to test this, I've had astral experiences where I'm still kind of tethered to my body, but I'm able to move my astral limbs around. And these experiences were very helpful with me to imagine or understand what it's fully like to be there. Because something about, like, when I'm still tethered to my body, I have an even greater level of lucid awareness and control. So I can be in that astral state in my physical body as long as I want. So I can move astral limbs, my astral arm out of my other arm. I can compare the two. I can move. I can play around with my astral fingers, make a fist. I can just do this kind of. I'll just be there in my astral body doing this for like half an hour, and having full sensation in my astral limbs. And then once I disconnect from my body, I may end up into an astral plane realm. But then I'm being pulled back into my body. Then it's going back through my brain again, trying to process all that information. So it's a less pure experience. So when you're actually dead, it's going to be closer to how I am in that in-between state where I have full conscious control of my astral limbs, where it's actually almost exactly the same as the world you're in right now. So literally it won't be very different at all. So it's not going to be a downgrade into some kind of nebulous dream state. So that is my video today, just an educational video, just talking about the stuff we talk about here. I'm not a guru, so don't think of me as a guru, but I hope that you can take that information and then use it to open up your own lines of investigation. If you like this kind of stuff, head to afterlifetopics.com, pick up a book of mine like Understanding Life After Death or the Afterlife and Beyond, or stay in touch at the community, Afterlife Topics Metaphysics on Facebook. I have a small MeWe community. I admit I have not been going on there as often. I need to go on there and check it out, make sure people are, make sure there's not a backlog of people joining, but I'm going to go do that shortly. Same with the Reddit community, but there's all these little communities you can get involved with, as well as this YouTube channel, the comments down below. Plenty of discussions to be had. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.